Marvin Vettori versus Kevin Holland takes place this weekend in the main event of UFC Fight Night on ABC2, Vettori versus Holland, and I can't wait for this middleweight main event. It was supposed to be Vettori versus Till, and I was very, very, very excited for that one, but now we've got Trailblazer on short notice. Darren Till pulls out of a collarbone injury. Who you gonna call? It's Kevin Holland. Big Mouth gets the call once again to step in on short notice, and this is a really big opportunity for Kevin Holland as well, as much as he has saved the event, and I'm very thankful that Kevin Holland to save the event. This is a very tall order to go out there and beat Marvin Vettori, especially on short notice as well. But maybe this will start the conversation of the short notice Kevin Holland that is the legendary fabled monster of the middleweight division. Only on a full camp can Kevin Holland truly be beaten. We'll see what happens this weekend. I think Marvin Vettori is going to get the better of him, but well played Kevin Holland. He can completely remove the sour taste from everyone's mouth after that Derek Brunson performance, because I'll tell you this right now. I know this is going to sound crazy because I'm talking about a professional athlete here. It looked like he didn't even want to beat Derek Brunson. A lot of the moments in that fight, like there were moments in that fight where he showed he very easily could beat Derek Brunson, and then he would go right back to putting himself in a body triangle on bottom and just basically accepting a loss for an opportunity to talk to Khabib. I didn't even know what was going on in certain moments, but fair play, Derek Brunson beat him. Derek Brunson did not look too impressive in that bout, and it kind of did lower the stock level of Kevin Holland, but he's got a real big chance to redeem himself, and even further redeem himself. Just by showing up, first of all, he can redeem himself, but even further redeem himself if he goes out there and beats Marvin Vettori, especially in spectacular fashion, and I think it's going to take that to beat Marvin Vettori. I don't see Kevin Holland going out there and winning a decision against Marvin Vettori. I don't see that happening whatsoever. I think he's got to go out there and chin Marvin Vettori and put him out. Marvin Vettori's never been KO'd or finished in his entire career. I know he's had some losses. He always makes it competitive in every single one of his losses. Never been KO'd, never been submitted. Really hard to finish. He's fought really good grapplers in Jack Hermansson, who he was able to neutralize on the ground and control and stay safe. He's fought really dangerous strikers as well that he's been able to neutralize and even go to the grappling against, like Carl Roberson, who is a really good striker in that division. As soon as Marvin Vettori realized, hang on a second, this is a little bit risky on the feet, I'm just going to shoot a takedown, and he went into grappling mode just like that and took down Carl Roberson. Roberson showed some good scrambles, don't get me wrong, but Marvin Vettori dominated that fight start to finish. Got the rear naked choke eventually in the first round, and I think he's actually going to get the same rear naked choke against Kevin Holland here this weekend, who seems to have a knack for getting himself rear naked choked. It happened against Brendan Allen. It happened against Rafael Lovato Jr. I know Lovato Jr. is another level in terms of grappling, but still, Kevin Holland has shown a little bit of a weakness on the ground, and it would be so foolish to me if Marvin Vettori doesn't go out there and just try and take him down to the ground immediately, because Kevin Holland, it's got nothing for anyone down there, unless you're Jacare Souza, which is another reason why this fucking stupid sport pisses me off so much. Gerald Meerschaert exposes Kevin Holland on the ground. Brendan Allen exposes Kevin Holland on the ground. Darren Stewart in the third round exposes Kevin Holland on the ground. He's got no ground defense whatsoever, but Jacare Souza is the one guy on the ground that Kevin Holland has a chance against, because I know a lot of people just see that as him landing one big punch against Jacare from his back, but he had him in a triangle position. He had some really close submission attempts against Jacare Souza. And it's just weird to me how you can go from that to the performance that he had against Derek Brunson. I feel like he's going to lose to Marvin Vettori, though. Vettori's got that switch that he needs. He's great on the feet. He stays compact. He doesn't swing big bombs either. He's not looking to KO anyone in the first few rounds. It's very obvious he's looking to break guys down, wear on them. If it goes to the ground, he'll try and work some finishes there. But it seems like while it's on the feet, he's not one of those guys that's just going to be swinging overhands looking for a big finish. So that does leave a little bit less of an opening for Kevin Holland here. Vettori's just such a safe fighter. I don't see him being KO'd or submitted. Maybe ever in his career. And I'm daring to jinx this one fight, especially this weekend, but I don't see Vettori being finished. Like, I don't see where the openings are for him to be finished. His ground game defense is really good. We saw that against Jack Hermansson. He was so safe, made sure to get to a good position, stuffed anything Jack Hermansson was trying to do, stayed in half guard, landed some good shots here and there, and then worked his way back up to the feet where he continued to break down Jack Hermansson, and he took that bout for 5 rounds on short notice. I know that he didn't really take it on short notice like on the week of, because he had a training camp for Jacare Souza, but he did not know he was going 5 rounds. And also, I do mention this as well, he took it on short notice, and that means cutting weight out of nowhere. Like, Marvin Vettori is a huge man for the middleweight division. He is a massive guy, real chunky for the middleweight division. He has a lot of weight to cut, and he took that fight with Jack Hermansson on short notice, which means that weight cut was started as soon as he basically accepted the fight with Jack Hermansson. I'm sure that wasn't ideal, but he showed up anyway and got the job done like a true championship-minded fighter would. I think Marvin Vettori's got a real good chance of going on in this division and beating Israel Adesanya. I think he's the only guy I can see with a chance of doing it other than Robert Whittaker, and even Robert Whittaker, I don't know if he's going to beat Israel Adesanya in a rematch. I feel like Marvin Vettori, with that X factor of being able to use some offensive grappling, is going to be a good threat to Israel Adesanya in the middleweight division, and I think he does beat Kevin Holland this weekend, and I'll say by rear naked choke in the first round. Marvin Vettori's really good, man. He's really, really good. His stand-up's really good. Very compact. He gets clipped here and there, but it's never like where his head's way out of position or anything like that. He's got very good head movement as well. One thing that Kevin Holland does have to really work in his favor is that reach. He has, what, a 7-inch reach advantage over Marvin Vettori, which is just ridiculous to see in this division, but he is a very tall guy, 6'3" for the middleweight division. Kevin Holland's going to have that advantage, but I also want to talk about the mindset of Kevin Holland here. He wasn't talking about, I'm just going to stay ready for anything that happens at middleweight. Kevin Holland's mindset after that loss to Derek Brunson was, I'm going to see what happens at welterweight now. I'm going to move myself down into the welterweight division, and that's all he spoke about for a couple of weeks. I've lost to Derek Brunson. I'm going to try things out at welterweight. I'm going to look to try and cut down. Now, on short notice, he gets a call to go back up to middleweight, where he wasn't planning on fighting at for the foreseeable future. I don't like the situation for Kevin Holland. I really, really, really appreciate that he's stepping in on short notice. I just don't see this one going his way, man. The ground game that he has shown in fights other than the Jacare Souza one, which I guess we can now put down to landing the perfect punch at the perfect moment while Jacare Souza was trying to talk back to him. I think now that people are aware of what Kevin Holland does in the cage about all of the talking, I think it's going to be less effective now as it goes on, because Jacare was surely like at certain moments, this guy's fucking talking to me in the middle of a fight. Same with Thiago Santos. Like, what the fuck is this guy doing talking to me in the middle of a cage right now? And I feel like now that it's been publicized and everyone knows the story of Kevin Holland and we've seen the promotion videos, it's sort of like less of a shock factor to know that he's going to be talking to you. So I think Marvin Vettori's got an advantage there, knowing that Kevin Holland's going to be trying out some of those mind games. I just don't see Vettori keeping this standing for too long. And I don't see Kevin Holland being able to stuff the takedowns, because there were so many takedowns that Derek Brunson shot on Kevin Holland that just should have been stuffed and would have been stuffed by so many other guys in that middleweight division. Brunson didn't even look good, man. Brunson looked like absolute fucking shit. It might have been one of the worst performances of Derek Brunson's career, and it didn't matter. It was still enough to control Kevin Holland on the ground. I think Vettori's got too much power in that top position. He's got too many submission attempts as well, and he's just in his prime. Compared to Derek Brunson, it's very obvious that Derek Brunson is not in the shape he once was. I know he dyed his hair to try and confuse everyone to make it seem like he's making a resurgence, but Derek Brunson has been on the decline recently in his career, and I know that sounds crazy, because he's winning fights at middleweight, and he could be one fight away from a title shot. I know that sounds crazy to say, but this is the middleweight division that we're in. I think Marvin Vettori is one of the few really good ones, and I think he's going to show that this weekend by dominating Kevin Holland and looking for a bout that's going to get him towards that title shot. I don't want him to be calling out for a title shot after this one. I think if Robert Whittaker wins, definitely. If Robert Whittaker beats Kelvin Gastelum, it would be criminal not to give him a title shot. So he has to get a title shot if he does beat Kelvin Gastelum. However, if Marvin Vettori does beat Kevin Holland this weekend and does it impressively, and then Gastelum goes on and beats Robert Whittaker somehow as well, Vettori could be looking at a title shot here. I don't want that to be the case. I don't want that to be the case whatsoever. I want him to show that he's good against Kevin Holland. Then I want to see him versus a Derek Brunson, a guy who beat Kevin Holland, or versus a winner of Paulo Costa versus Jared Cannonier, which I assume is going to be the next fight that they're going to look to make. I feel like we need to slow things down in this middleweight division. Hopefully Whittaker gets past Kelvin Gastelum, which means we can do Whittaker versus Adesanya 2 in the summer. Gives us a ton of time to work out the rest of the division. Of course, we've got to get Till back to the top. He's now pulled out with a collarbone injury, so he's going to need an opponent when he comes back. Looking forward to where this middleweight division plays out. I don't want to be giving these guys title shots for beating Kevin Holland and Jack Hermansson. I don't think that's title shot worthy. You know what I mean? I feel like we need Marvin Vettori to win this one, then win against a Costa Cannonier winner, and then maybe we can talk about a title shot then, because this fight is great, don't get me wrong, but I feel like it's kind of obvious that Vettori's going to beat him. Very close fight. Holland obviously has a chance to catch Vettori on the chin, but if I'm looking for evidence that that's going to be a factor here, Vettori's never been cracked badly in fights. Like, he's been clipped on the chin here and there, but he never even seems to wobble about certain things. Like, I've never seen Vettori in any kind of trouble of being finished. I've seen Vettori lose fights. I have seen that. I saw him got outworked a little bit by Antonio Carlos Jr. earlier in his career with the grappling, and he had to fix that, and he had to redeem himself, and then he came back and worked on his grappling, and even showed to use it in fights against guys like Omari Akhmedov, who again was swinging absolute bombs at him, and Vettori just took those shots well, and then even came back in the third round to get a 10-8 and secure himself that draw. He's showing evolution, man. He gets exploited in his grappling against Antonio Carlos Jr. He bounces back, uses his grappling to win against guys like Omari Akhmedov. He got takedowns in the third round of that bout, I believe, and he was on top in the third round. I don't know how it happened, but he showed good grappling there. He then went on to use good grappling against Israel Adesanya in that third round to get himself a split decision. Now, I know he lost to Israel Adesanya, but again, Adesanya was landing good shots. If Adesanya can't find the opening on Vettori in 2017, even to find himself a KO, I don't see this version of Kevin Holland being able to do it either. But still, Marvin Vettori's an absolute monster. He got takedowns against Cesar Ferreira as well. His grappling has come along so massively in his career. He has submissions earlier on, but he was always a bit of a brawler on the feet. Then he showed against Carl Roberson. That Carl Roberson fight is a huge tell for me on how this fight's going to go, because it showed me that Vettori is not just a stand-up guy. If Vettori was a guy who was going to go out there and try and outstrike Kevin Holland for 5 rounds, maybe there's a chance that Holland could do something. But showing that Vettori has that switch, like he had against Carl Roberson, where, you know what, Roberson's throwing some weird stuff. I believe Roberson threw a crescent kick at one point in that fight on Marvin Vettori, and it landed. It was a good crescent kick, and it landed on Marvin Vettori, and then you could see it in Marvin Vettori's eyes. He just sort of went, oh, fuck this ain't worth it. I'm going to out-grapple this motherfucker. And that's exactly what he did. Took him down, beat him up. A couple of scrambles here and there where Roberson looked good, but again, Marvin Vettori retains top position, gets back to a great position in the grappling, and then sinks in the rear naked choke when he finds his moment. And I think he's going to find that moment against Kevin Holland, take the back, rear naked choke, or an arm triangle as well, because we saw in the Derek Brunson fight, Holland is open to that arm triangle. I just think Marvin Vettori's got this one in the bag, and if Holland wins, first of all, the middleweight division is kind of fucked, because imagine a universe where Holland wins this weekend and Gastelum wins next weekend. How fucked is the middleweight division? We have no contenders if that happens whatsoever. There's no interest for anyone to take on Israel Adesanya, and we have to wait even longer. I just don't see it happening. It would ruin everything, and it would be yet another sign that there is no place for logic in this fucking sport if Kevin Holland is somehow able to go out there and KO Marvin Vettori or put him in a triangle and finish him. There is no way that happens unless we're living in a fucking simulation run by a fucking clown. I don't see it happening. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Click that button up there. Kevin Holland loses first round rear naked choke. Marvin Vettori gets the tap. Like and subscribe. Toodle pip.